Good afternoon, students. So, we are dealing with air pollution. Yesterday, we have seen about indoor air pollution. The indoor environment represents an important microenvironment in which people spend a large part of their time each day. So, as a result, indoor air pollution originating from both outdoor and indoor sources, and it's likely to contribute more to population exposure than the outdoor environment. So we have seen this. The indoor air pollution depends on nature and location of sources, air exchange between indoor and outdoor environment, and individual behavior make accurate estimation of health effects, which are very difficult. The major sources of indoor air pollution are combustion of solid fuels, tobacco smoking, outdoor air pollutants, emission from construction material and furnishings, and improper maintenance of ventilation and air conditioning system. So these are the major sources of indoor air pollution. So it vary from place to place. It depends on level of socio-economic development. It is predominantly found in developed countries because of the homes are very airtight, which reduces ventilation and leads to increase of indoor pollutants. We have seen that is 4.3 million people die every year due to indoor air pollution. Among these deaths, 12% are due to pneumonia, 34% from stroke, 26% from ischemic heart disease, 22% from COPD, and 6% from lung cancer. It doubles the rate of childhood pneumonia. Over half of deaths among children less than 5 years old are due to acute lower respiratory infections causing due to indoor air pollution. Also, it leads to stroke, ischemic heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, also lung cancer. The risk for women is higher than other people's due to their role in food preparation. What indoor pollutant does? They inflame the airways and lungs, impairing immune response and reducing the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. Then we have seen how to monitor air pollution. So there are number of ways. First one is sulfur dioxide, measurement of sulfur dioxide can estimate the air pollution because it is the major contaminant in urban and industrial areas. And smoke or soiling index, it is a known volume of air is filtered through a white filter paper under specified condition, and the stain is measured by photoelectric meter, and it is expressed as micrograms per cubic meter. Then grit and dust measurement. The deposit box collects the grit, dust and other solids, and these are analyzed monthly. Then coefficient of haze. It is a factor used particularly in the USA in assessing the amount of smoke or other aerosols in air. Then air pollution index. It is arbitrary index which takes into account one or more pollutant as a measure of severity of pollution. For example, the following index mainly used in USA. It is 10 times of sulfur dioxide concentration plus twice carbon monoxide concentration plus twice coefficient of haze. When this index is more than 12 to 50, it is considered as an alarming condition. WHO in its publication, that is Air Quality Guidelines for Europe, they have given methods of determining concentration of common air pollutants and their health hazards. It mainly depends upon exposure. Firstly, it defines the lowest concentration at which adverse effects are observed. It has given the health effects of individual compounds. Then air pollution monitoring in India. In India, they have given the National Air Quality Monitoring Program, which is sponsored by Central Pollution Control Board. It is since 1990 and it has generated database over last 14 years in 10 major Indian cities. This program facilitates evaluation of long-term air quality which trends for health related criteria pollutants. Means it mainly evaluates the long-term air quality, the quality of air which affects the health. According to that research, the SPM varies between 30 to 60% and with coastal cities showing higher percentage. Also, BAP concentration was higher in Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi and Nagpur, mainly during winter months. Also, they have given about dry deposition of air pollutants, also wet deposition of air pollutants. They have mentioned about the first rain contains the maximum concentration of pollutants, mainly higher sulfate and nitrate contents. When we have seen about effects of air pollution, it mainly depends upon rising industrial activity, increasing power generation, congestion of streets with poorly maintained motor vehicles, mainly the vehicles which are leaded fuel. Air pollution can affect by two ways. First is health aspect and second one is social and economic aspect. In health aspect, there are mainly two types of effects: immediate effects and delayed effects. The immediate effects are borne by the respiratory system, which results in the state of acute bronchitis. If the air pollution is intense, it may result in immediate death by suffocation. The delayed effects most commonly linked with air pollution are chronic bronchitis, lung cancer, bronchial asthma, emphysema, and respiratory allergies. Elevated lead levels in children have been associated with impaired neuropsychologic development, which is measured by loss of IQ, poor school performance, and behavioral difficulties. We have seen about major pollutants, their sources, and adverse effects. The effect of air pollution on health, it is mainly depend on degree of exposure of individual and also the confounding variables such as smoking, nutrition, occupation, and climate. Air pollution damages the human respiratory and cardiorespiratory system. The elderly people, children, smokers, and those with chronic respiratory difficulties are most vulnerable. And we have seen about social and economic aspect. These comprise of destruction of plants and animal life, corrosion of metals, damage to the buildings, their cost of cleaning and maintenance and also repair. Air pollution also reduces visibility in towns and it can soil and damage clothing. So these are social and economic aspect of effects of air pollution. So today we will see about prevention and control of air pollution. The control of air pollution is ultimately an engineering problem. The WHO has recommended the following procedures for the prevention and control of air pollution. So first one is containment, second is replacement, third is dilution, fourth legislation, fifth international action, and sixth is disinfection. So WHO recommended following procedures for prevention and control of air pollution, that are containment, replacement, dilution, legislation, international action, and last one is disinfection. We'll see one by one. Containment, that is prevention of escape of toxic substance into the ambient air. The containment zones, that is prevention of escape of toxic substance into the ambient air. Mainly they want to say the areas in which there is a maximum concentration of air pollutants, that area should be in containment zone. Means that air pollutant are not able to escape that place, or it will decrease the amount of air pollutants escaping outside air. It will be decreased due to containment. This containment can be achieved by variety of engineering methods such as enclosure of that area, or for example some industries that chimney should be at high position, or the room from air pollutants are coming, that room should be enclosed. Also by ventilation, by providing proper ventilation and air cleaning methods. So this containment can be achieved by enclosure, ventilation and by air cleaning. The major contribution in this field is the development of aerosols for the removal of contaminants. Aerosols means it is for example in industries, the industry is provided with aerosols. Means that aerosols work by absorbing the contaminants from the air. So it works like air cleaning. Second method is replacement. That is replacing a technological process causing air pollution by a new process that does not cause air pollution. Replacement, that is replacing a technological process causing air pollution by new process that does not cause air pollution. Like increased use of electricity, solar power generation, natural gas and central heating in place of coal have greatly helped in smoke reduction. So how replacement done? Like increased use of electricity, solar power generation, natural gas and central heating in place of coal, which have greatly helped in smoke reduction. There is a move now to reduce lead in petrol, which is cumulative poison. So in India also de-leaded petrol is being used. And third method is dilution. Dilution is valid so long as it is within the self-cleaning capacity of the environment. For example, some air pollutants are readily removed by vegetation. as we already discussed about self-cleansing mechanism of air. In that, I have told about the dilution method of air. Air dilutes the contaminants or air pollutant. So, self-cleansing mechanism. So, dilution is the valid as long as it is within the self-cleaning capacity of environment. For example, some air pollutants are readily removed by vegetations. The establishment of green belts between industrial and residential areas is an attempt at dilution. Green belts means trees, implantation of number of trees. So the establishment of green belts between industrial and residential areas is an attempt for dilution. The capacity for dilution is, however, limited, and troubles occurs when atmosphere is overburdened with pollutants. When atmosphere is overburdened with pollutants, the natural self-cleaning capacity of air is decreased. So it is limited. Next method is legislation. So air pollution is controlled in many countries by suitable legislation. For example, Clean Air Acts. Legislation, rules and regulations like Clean Air Acts. Legislation covers such matters as a height of chimneys, it should be high, powers to local authorities to carry out investigations, research and education concerning air pollution, creation of smokeless zones and enforcement of standard for ambient air quality. So what legislation covers? Legislation covers the height of chimneys, which should be high. Also, power to the local authorities to carry out investigations about that industry, research, and also education concerning air pollution to the people. Creation of smokeless zones and enforcement of standards for ambient air quality. To decrease the nuisance of air pollution, the Government of India have enacted the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1981. The Government of India has given the act, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which is given in the 1981. Then international action. To deal with air pollution on a worldwide scale, the WHO has established an international network of laboratories for monitoring and study of air pollution. To deal with air pollution On worldwide scale, the WHO has established an international network of laboratories for monitoring and study of air pollution. The network consists of 2 international centers at London and Washington, 3 centers at Moscow, Nagpur and Tokyo, and 20 laboratories in various parts of the world. The network consists of 2 international centers at London and Washington, 3 centers at Moscow, Nagpur and Tokyo, and 20 laboratories in various parts of the world. These centers will issue warning of air pollution where and when necessary. Then, disinfection of air. In recent years, disinfection of air has received much attention. The methods used for disinfection: first is mechanical ventilation. This reduces vitiated air and bacterial density. Mechanical ventilation means now there is a use of some ACs, air conditioners, which also act as a disinfectant, which reduces the air pollutants and gives the good quality of air. So mechanical ventilation reduces the vitiated air and bacterial density. Next one is ultraviolet radiation. This has been found to be effective in special situations such as operation theatres and infectious disease wards. Ultraviolet radiations, these are mainly found in special situations such as operation theatres and infectious disease wards. Since direct exposure to ultraviolet rays is a danger to the eyes and skin, so the ultraviolet lamps are shaded and located in the upper portion of the rooms near the inlet of air. So ultraviolet rays have proved effective for use in public assemblies and some school rooms. So mainly ultraviolet radiations are used in operation theatres and infectious disease wards. But nowadays it also used in public assemblies and school rooms. Next one is chemical mist. It is triethylene glycol vapors, which have been found to be effective air bactericide, particularly against droplet nuclei and dust. This is the chemical triethylene glycol. which has the bactericidal activity, particularly against droplet nuclei and dust. Next is dust control. Application of oil to the floors of hospital wards reduces the bacterial content of the air. Application of oil to the floors of the hospital reduces the bacterial content of the air. Still, air disinfection is an experimental stage. So, let's clear the air. We'll revise in short the whole chapter. So we have seen about air and air pollution, in which first we started with air. We have seen about functions of air, that is life-giving oxygen. Also, human body is cooled by air contact. Special senses of hearing and smell function through the air transmitted stimuli, and disease agents also conveyed by air. Human being needs a continuous supply of 10 to 20 m³ per day air. The composition of air: it contains nitrogen 78.1%, oxygen 20.93%, carbon dioxide 0.03%, and some other gases which are in trace amount like argon, neon, krypton, xenon, and helium. And it also contains water vapor, traces of ammonia, suspended matter such as dust, bacteria, spores, vegetative debris. So this is diagrammatic presentation, composition of air. So air is mainly rendered impure by respiration of men and animals, combustion of coal, gas and oil, etc., decomposition of organic matter, trade, traffic and manufacturing processes. So there is a self-cleansing mechanism of nature which is occurred by wind. Like wind dilutes and sweeps away the impurities by its movements. Because of wind movements, impurities do not accumulate at one place. Second is sunlight. The atmospheric temperature and sunlight play the main important part by oxidizing the impurities and killing bacteria. Then rain, it cleanses the atmosphere by removing the suspended and gaseous impurities. Plant life, the green plants utilize the carbon dioxide and generate oxygen. This process is reversed during night time. Then we have seen about the air of occupied room. The human occupancy and activity vitiates the air in occupied room and gives the sense of discomfort to the occupants. The changes in the air that takes place are mainly chemical changes and physical changes. Chemical changes, it includes increased carbon dioxide and decreased oxygen. Physical changes includes rise in temperature, increase of humidity, decrease in air movements, body odors, and bacterial pollution. This leads to decreased comfort, decreased health, and decreased efficiency. Also, feeling of suffocation, discomfort, or complaints like headache, drowsiness, inability to concentrate. Also, there is a risk of droplet infections, decreased resistance to the disease. So, we have seen chemical changes, physical changes like rise in temperature, increase of humidity, decreased air movements, body odors, bacterial pollution. Then we have seen what is discomfort. So discomfort is a subjective sensation which people experience in ill ventilated and crowded rooms. Discomfort is mainly due to physical changes, that is temperature, humidity, air movement, and heat radiation. These factors determines the cooling power of the air with respect to human body. So we have seen about indices of thermal comfort, means the temperature or the air at which human being feels comfortable. So first one is air temperature. Initially they have given air temperature as a index of thermal comfort, but it is not reliable. Then they have added humidity into it. So air temperature and humidity, but it is also unsatisfactory. Then they have given cooling power of the air, means they included air temperature, humidity, and air movement, and it is expressed as cooling power of the air. It is measured by Carter thermometer. Then effective temperature. Effective temperature includes effect of temperature, humidity, and movement of internal air on sensation of warmth and cold felt by human body. But it is also unsatisfactory, so they have given corrected effective temperature, in which they included the radiant heat, and here they have used globe thermometer. So corrective effective temperature includes air temperature, velocity, that is movement of the air, humidity, and mean radiant heat. We have seen about McArdle's maximum allowable sweat rate. It is expressed as P4SR, means predicted 4-hour sweat rate. We have seen about comfort zone. So definition of comfort zone: comfortable thermal conditions are those under which person can maintain normal balance between production and loss of heat at normal body temperature and without sweating. 2 marks question. Comfort zone. The comfortable thermal conditions are those under which person can maintain normal balance between production and loss of heat at normal body temperature and without sweating. These are some index like pleasant and cool, 20 degrees Celsius. If temperature is 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, it is comfortable and cool environment. If corrective effective temperature is 25 to 27 degrees Celsius, it is comfortable zone. But if it increases, then it is uncomfortable. And we started with air pollution. So first we have seen about pollution. What is pollution? So pollution is an inescapable consequence of presence of man and his activities. So the term air pollution signifies the presence in the ambient substance for gases or particulated matter which are generated by activities of man in a concentration that interfere with human health, safety and comfort, or they are injurious to vegetations and animals and other environmental media, and which results into chemicals which are entering into the food chain or drinking water, and thereby constituting additional source of human exposure. The definition asked for 2 marks. We have seen about some basic definitions like air pollutant, primary air pollutants. Primary air pollutants are those that are emitted into the atmosphere from a source such as factory chimney, exhaust pipes, or through the suspension of contaminated dust. So it is possible to measure because it comes from a source. Secondary air pollutants, these are formed within the atmosphere. So these are difficult to measure. These are the chemical reactions of primary pollutants. Then we have seen about gaseous air pollutants, means the pollutants which are in the form of gas or vapors. Then we have seen about particulate air pollutants, means the pollutants in the form of solid or liquid. Then local scale, means these air pollutants have very short atmospheric lifetime. So they are present only in local areas and causing local pollution. And urban scale, these are having the lifetime of few hours. So they are present in only urban areas. Their concentration is reduced in adjacent rural areas. Then regional scale, these are having lifetime of days or even weeks. So they are capable of traveling thousands of kilometers and so capable of infecting or forming pollution of long range areas. Then hemispheric and global scale, their lifetime is years. So they are capable of distribution throughout a hemisphere or ultimately globally. Then we have seen about sources of air pollution like automobiles, industries, domestic sources, tobacco smoke, and some miscellaneous sources such as wind-borne dust, fungi, molds, bacteria, and seen about meteorological factors like topography, air movements, and climate. And seen about air pollutants. Seen in detail about some common air pollutants like carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, lead, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, cadmium, hydrogen sulfide, ozone, oxides of nitrogen, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and last one is particulate matter. Then seen about indoor air pollution. The indoor environment represents a microenvironment in which people spend large part of their time each day. It depends on nature and location of source, air exchange between indoor and outdoor environment, and individual behavior. The major sources of indoor air pollution: combustion of solid fuels, tobacco smoking, outdoor air pollutants, emission from construction material and furnishings, improper maintenance of ventilation and air conditioning system. So these are major sources. 4.3 million people die every year due to indoor air pollution. And seen about monitoring of air pollution by measuring the sulfur dioxide, smoke or soiling index, grit and dust measurement, coefficient of haze, and final is air pollution index, which gives the severity of pollution. Seen about air pollution monitoring in India. In India, there is a National Air Quality Monitoring Program given by Central Pollution Control Board. It gives the database of last 14 years in 10 major Indian cities. It includes the long-term air quality. And seen about effects of air pollution. In developed countries, the effects are more because of rising industrial activity, increasing power generation, and congestion of streets with poorly maintained motor vehicles, mainly the vehicles which are leaded fuel. The air pollution can affect by two ways: health aspects and social and economic aspect. In health aspect, there are immediate effect of air pollution and delayed effect of air pollution. The immediate effect causes acute bronchitis, sometimes immediate death by suffocation, and delayed effects include chronic bronchitis, lung cancer, bronchial asthma, emphysema, and respiratory allergies. Seen about major pollutants, their sources, adverse effects. The air pollution effects mainly depends upon degree of exposure of individuals, smoking, nutrition, occupation, and climate. Air pollution mainly causes respiratory and cardiorespiratory symptoms. In social and economic effects, it comprises destruction of plant and animal life, corrosion of metals, damage to the buildings, and their cost of cleaning and maintenance, repair. Air pollution also reduces visibility in towns. It can soil and damage clothing. And lastly, we have seen about prevention and control of air pollution. The WHO has recommended some procedures for prevention and control of air pollution, that are containment, replacement, dilution, legislation, international action, and disinfection. So in containment, that is prevention of escape of toxic substance into the ambient air. This can be achieved by enclosure, ventilation, and by air cleaning. Mainly, a major contribution in this field is the development of arrestals for the removal of contaminants. Replacement, that is replacing a technological process causing air pollution by a new process that does not cause air pollution. That is increased use of electricity, solar power generation, natural gas, and central heating in place of coal, which have greatly helped in smoke reduction. There is also move now to reduce lead in petrol, which is cumulative poison. Then dilution. As we have seen, dilution is the natural self-cleaning method of air. For example, some air pollutants are readily removed by vegetation. So the establishment of green belts between industrial and residential areas is an attempt at dilution. But the capacity of dilution is limited when atmosphere is overburdened with pollutants. Then legislation. So air pollution is controlled in many countries by suitable legislation. For example, Clean Air Act. The legislation covers height of chimneys, powers to local authorities to carry out investigations and research, education concerning air pollution, creation of smokeless zone, and enforcement of standard for ambient air quality. To decrease the nuisance of air pollution, the government of India have given an act, that is the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, given in 1981. Then international action to deal with air pollution on worldwide scale. The WHO has established international network of laboratories for monitoring and study of air pollution. This network consists of 2 international centers at London and Washington, 3 centers at Moscow, Nagpur and Tokyo, and 20 laboratories in various parts of the world. These centers will issue warnings of air pollution where and when necessary. The disinfection of air. In recent years, disinfection of air has received much attention. The methods employed are: first is mechanical ventilation. Mechanical ventilation reduces vitiated air and bacterial density. Second is use of ultraviolet radiation. The ultraviolet radiation is mainly used in operation theatres and infectious disease wards. These are also proved effective for general use in public assembly and schoolrooms. And chemical mist. Triethylene glycol. It is a chemical which has bactericidal action mainly against droplet nuclei and dust. So triethylene glycol vapors are used for disinfection purpose. Then dust control. Application of oil to the floors of the hospital wards reduces the bacterial content of the air. So air disinfection is still in experimental stage. So still we have not got a good method for disinfection of air. So let's clear the air. The image showing the stop engine idling, take the subway, ride a bike, walk, use an electric vehicles, and please use green transport. What's your idea? So let's clear the air. So thank you. If any doubt, you can ask me personally by messaging or by call. Thank you.